It was a Wednesday evening when I stumbled upon the truth that would shatter my world. I returned home from work, my mind replaying the mundane events of the day, when I noticed her phone buzzing on the counter. It was a simple thing, a moment that most would overlook, but as I glanced at the screen, my heart sank. The name flashing across it was one I had come to dread, Jake, her gym buddy. I picked up the phone, my hands trembling, curiosity mixed with dread as I opened the messages. The words were clear, too clear. Flirtatious banter, inside jokes, and something more intimate that made my stomach churn. It was a betrayal that cut deep, sharper than any blade. I felt the heat rise in my chest, a mixture of anger and disbelief. How could she do this to me? The man she had promised to love and cherish. I staggered back, leaning against the counter for support. My mind raced through a whirlwind of emotions, shock, betrayal, and an overwhelming sense of anger. I thought about the years we had spent together, the dreams we had built, and the trust we had nurtured. How could she throw it all away for a man she met at the gym? The irony was suffocating. I had encouraged her to pursue her fitness goals, to find a community that would support her. And now, here I was, left to pick up the pieces of a shattered trust. As I stood there, my heart pounding in my ears, I began to reflect on our relationship. We had met in college, both bright-eyed and ambitious. Our love had blossomed over late-night study sessions and spontaneous road trips. But somewhere along the way, the spark had dimmed. Life had become routine, and I had let it happen. I had taken her for granted, and she had turned to Jake for excitement. It felt like a cruel twist of fate. I had been so focused on my career and providing for us that I had neglected the emotional needs of our marriage. But this was not just about neglect. It was a choice she made. I had always believed that love was a commitment, a choice made every day. Yet here she was, choosing someone else. The betrayal stung like 1,000 needles, each one a reminder of my failure as a husband. As I paced the living room, my mind began to shift from despair to something darker, revenge. I couldn't just let this slide, I had to do something. I felt a surge of empowerment as the idea took root in my mind. I would make her feel the consequences of her actions. I would take away the one thing that had brought her so much joy, the gym. I knew the gym membership was more than just a fitness routine for her. It was a place where she felt free, where she had forged connections with others, including Jake. With each passing moment, my resolve grew stronger. I would cancel her membership. It was a small act, but one that would send a message. I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices, to understand that actions have consequences. I grabbed my phone and dialed the gym. The voice on the other end was cheerful, oblivious to the storm brewing in my heart. I explained the situation, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I requested her membership cancellation, and as I confirmed the details, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. I was taking control of my life, no longer the passive victim but an active participant in this twisted game of love and betrayal. The decision felt liberating, but deep down, I wondered if I was crossing a line. Was I justified in my actions, or was I simply becoming the villain in this story? I couldn't dwell on that now. I had made my choice, and I would own it. As I hung up the phone, I felt a mix of dread and anticipation for the confrontation that awaited me. I knew I would have to face her to explain why I had taken such drastic measures. Would she be remorseful? Would she understand the pain she had caused? Or would she lash out, blaming me for her actions? I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. The evening was just beginning, and I was about to confront the woman I thought I knew. The minutes dragged on as I waited for her to come home. Each tick of the clock echoed in my mind, amplifying my anxiety and determination. I paced the living room, replaying the conversation in my head. How would I explain myself? Would she understand that I was hurt, not just angry? Would she see the betrayal for what it was, or would she deflect and turn it back on me? Finally, the sound of the front door opening broke the silence. I straightened up, forcing my heart to steady as she stepped inside, her usual radiant smile instantly fading when she saw the look on my face. I could see the flicker of confusion in her eyes, quickly masked by a veil of apprehension. "Hey, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. "Sit down," I replied, my tone firm yet calm. I gestured toward the couch, where we had shared countless laughs, dreams, and moments of intimacy. Now it felt like a courtroom where I would lay out the evidence of her infidelity. She hesitated but eventually complied, her brow furrowing as she took a seat. I joined her, ensuring I maintained eye contact, as if to emphasize the seriousness of the conversation. "I found your messages with Jake," I said, my voice steady but filled with unyielding resolve. The words hung in the air like a thick fog, heavy with unspoken emotions. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought I saw a flicker of guilt pass across her face. "I can explain," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Explain what?" I interjected, my anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "What's there to explain? You've been having an affair with him. I read the messages, Sarah. You were flirting, being intimate. You even talked about things you'd do together. Do you think I'm just going to sit here and pretend I didn't see it?" She opened her mouth, but words failed her. I watched as she processed my words, her face shifting through shock, denial, and then finally a semblance of remorse. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said, her voice trembling. "It was just fun. It didn't mean anything. I love you." "Love?" I scoffed, my voice rising. "You think love is about sneaking around behind your husband's back? Is that what you call love? I've been here, supporting you, encouraging you to pursue your interests, and you repay me by betraying my trust. You think I'm going to let this slide? Please don't do this," she pleaded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We can work through this. I'll end things with him. Just give me a chance." Her desperation only fueled my resolve. "You've already made your choice, and now I'm making mine." I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "I canceled your gym membership. You can't see him anymore." The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Her expression morphed from shock to anger, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. "You what?" she spat, incredulity pouring from her voice. "You think that will solve anything? You think taking away my gym membership is going to make me forget about him? It's not just about the gym, Sarah. It's about the trust you've shattered. I want you to understand that your actions have consequences. You need to feel what it's like to lose something you care about, just like I lost you." I watched as the color drained from her face, replaced by a mix of disbelief and fury. "You're being petty. This is ridiculous." "Petty?" I challenged, my voice rising again. "You're the one who chose to betray your husband. I'm just making sure you realize the gravity of your decisions." "Do you really think this is going to teach me a lesson?" she shot back, her voice trembling with anger. "You're just making things worse. You're pushing me away even further." "Maybe that's what I need to do," I replied, my heart pounding. "You've already pushed me away by choosing him. I'm just giving you a taste of what it feels like to lose something you love." The tension in the room was palpable. I could feel the anger radiating off her in waves, but beneath it there was an unmistakable fear. I had taken something from her, and now she was left with nothing but the realization of her betrayal. She stood up abruptly, her hands balled into fists at her sides. "You think this makes you strong. You think this makes you right. You're wrong. You're just as much to blame for this as I am." Her words cut deep, but I held my ground. "I may not be perfect, but I didn't cheat on you. You made that choice, and you have to live with it." For a moment, we stood in silence, the weight of our emotions hanging heavy in the air. I could see the hurt in her eyes, but I also saw something else, a flicker of defiance, a spark of anger that told me she wouldn't back down easily. "I can't believe you would stoop this low," she said, her voice low and venomous. "You're just a coward hiding behind a phone call. You think you can control me. You think this is how you win." "I'm not trying to win anything, Sarah. I'm just trying to make you understand the consequences of your actions. If you want to fix this, it starts with you, not me." The confrontation left us both shaken, standing on opposite ends of a chasm that had opened up between us. I could feel the distance growing, but I also felt a strange sense of empowerment. I had taken action, something I had felt powerless to do before. As she stormed out of the room, I couldn't help but wonder if this was the beginning of the end for us, or just a painful chapter in a story that might still have a chance at redemption. The following days felt surreal, a blur of emotions that oscillated between anger, sadness, and a strange sense of liberation. Sarah and I existed in the same house, but it felt like we were living in two different worlds. The air was thick with tension, and every interaction was laced with unspoken words that hung between us like a heavy fog. I found myself retreating into my work, diving into tasks with a ferocity that surprised even me. It was easier to focus on spreadsheets and deadlines than to confront the emotional turmoil brewing just beneath the surface of my life. But even in the quiet moments when I was alone with my thoughts, I couldn't escape the reality of our situation. I had taken a drastic step, and now I had to deal with the fallout. Sarah had reacted with fury when I canceled her gym membership, but I could see the cracks in her armor. She was trying to maintain her composure, but there were moments when I caught her staring into space, lost in thought, and I wondered if she was finally beginning to grasp the weight of her betrayal. One evening, as I sat at the dining table with my laptop open, I heard the sound of her footsteps approaching. My heart raced and I braced myself for another confrontation. But instead of anger, I sensed a different energy, something softer, almost vulnerable. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I looked up, surprised by the change in her demeanor. "About what?" I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral, even though a part of me was curious to hear what she had to say. "About everything," she said, taking a seat across from me. "I've been thinking a lot." I was cautious, unsure of what to expect. "Go on." "I know I messed up," she started, her eyes downcast. "I let things get out of hand with Jake and I should have been honest with you, but I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could just have some fun without it affecting our marriage." "Fun?" I echoed, incredulity creeping into my voice. "You call cheating on your husband fun? That's a pretty twisted definition of fun, Sarah." I know," she exclaimed, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "I'm not trying to justify what I did. I was looking for something I felt was missing in our relationship. I thought I could find it somewhere else. I didn't mean for it to spiral out of control." I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. "And you thought Jake was the answer. You thought risking everything we built together was worth it for a fling." "I was stupid," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I thought I could separate the two parts of my life. I didn't realize how wrong I was until it was too late. And now I feel lost without the gym, without my friends, without you." Her admission struck a chord within me. I had spent so much time focusing on my hurt that I hadn't considered how she might be feeling, even if her choices had led us to this point. I could see the shame etched across her face, and it made me question my own actions. Was I being too harsh? Was I pushing her further away instead of guiding her back? "Do you really want to fix this?" I asked, my voice softer now. "Because it's going to take more than just words. You need to show me you're committed to rebuilding the trust you've broken." "I will," she said, her eyes meeting mine, filled with sincerity. "I'll do whatever it takes. I'll find a way to make it up to you. Just please don't shut me out completely." "Shutting you out is the easy part," I replied, feeling a mix of frustration and longing. "The hard part is figuring out if I can ever trust you again. You shattered my world and I can't just pretend it didn't happen." "I understand," she said quietly. "But I want to try. I'll cancel my classes at the gym and I'll reach out to Jake and tell him it's over. I'll do whatever it takes to prove to you that I want our marriage back." I nodded slowly, digesting her words. It was a start, but I knew action spoke louder than words. "You need to show me, Sarah. I can't just take your word for it. You have to be willing to put in the effort." "I will," she insisted, determination creeping into her voice. "I'll show you I can be the wife you deserve, the partner you need. I just need a chance." As the conversation progressed, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe there was a way forward for us, but it wouldn't be easy. Trust was fragile, and it would take time to rebuild what had been lost. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were at a crossroads. I had made my choice to take away her gym membership as a form of revenge, but now I began to wonder if that was the right approach. Would it have been better to confront her with understanding instead of anger? But deep down, I knew that my actions had given me a sense of control in a situation where I had felt utterly powerless. I had taken a stand, but now I needed to decide if I was willing to meet her halfway. A part of me was still angry, still hurt, but another part yearned for the connection we once had. I closed my eyes, hoping for clarity, and drifted into a restless sleep, uncertain of what the next day would bring. The next few days unfolded in a manner that felt almost surreal. Sarah was determined to prove her commitment to our marriage, and I could see her making genuine efforts to change. She canceled her gym classes and reached out to Jake, ending things with him. I was surprised by how quickly she seemed to adapt, but I was still skeptical. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight, and I was acutely aware that her words needed to be backed by consistent actions. One evening, as I returned home from work, I found her in the kitchen preparing dinner. The familiar aroma of garlic and herbs wafted through the air, and for a fleeting moment it felt like the old days. I could almost forget the pain of her betrayal as I watched her chop vegetables, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, a concentration etched on her face. "Hey, you're home early," she said, glancing up and offering a tentative smile. "I thought I'd surprise you with your favorite." I hesitated. "Thanks, but I'm not really hungry," I replied, my tone betraying the turmoil still churning inside me. "Come on, it's been a rough few weeks. You need to eat," she insisted, her voice softening as she approached me. "I just want to do something nice for you." I looked into her eyes, searching for any sign of insincerity, but all I saw was a vulnerability that tugged at my heart. "I appreciate it, but I'm still trying to process everything. I'm not sure I'm ready for normal yet." She sighed, a flicker of disappointment crossing her face. "I understand, but I'm trying to show you that I'm serious about us. Just give me a chance to make things right." I sighed, rubbing my temples. "It's just hard, Sarah. I want to believe you, but it feels like everything has changed." "Maybe we can change it back," she suggested, her voice hopeful. "We can start fresh. How about we plan a date this weekend, just the two of us like we used to?" I considered her proposal. A part of me longed for that connection, the intimacy we had shared before everything fell apart, but another part of me was terrified of being disappointed again. "A date, like a romantic dinner." "Exactly," she replied, her eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. "We can go to that Italian place you love. It'll be nice, I promise." I hesitated but eventually nodded. "Okay, but I need you to understand that this doesn't erase what happened. I still need time to process everything." "Of course," she said, her expression earnest. "I'll do my best to show you that I'm committed to us." As the week progressed, I noticed the changes she was making. She was more present, more engaged, and I could see the effort she was putting into our conversations. We talked about everything and anything, from mundane daily tasks to our hopes for the future. It felt like we were slowly finding our rhythm again, but there was still an undercurrent of tension that I couldn't shake off. The day of our date arrived, and I found myself standing in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie for what felt like the first time in ages. I hadn't realized how much I missed putting in that effort, how it felt to want to impress my wife. I was excited yet anxious, a cocktail of emotions swirling within me. When I picked Sarah up, I was taken aback by how beautiful she looked. She wore a simple, elegant dress that accentuated her figure, her hair cascading in loose waves around her shoulders. For a moment, I was reminded of the woman I fell in love with, the vibrant and carefree spirit who had captivated me years ago. "You look amazing," I said, my voice sincere. "Thanks," she replied, a shy smile gracing her lips. "You clean up pretty well yourself." As we drove to the restaurant, the conversation flowed easily. We laughed and reminisced about our early days together, the adventures we had shared, and the dreams we once held. It felt good to reconnect, to let go of the weight of betrayal, even if just for a few hours. But as we settled into our table and the waiter poured our wine, the reality of our situation crept back in. I couldn't shake the nagging doubts that lingered in the back of my mind. Was this just a temporary reprieve from the pain, or could we truly find our way back to each other? "Can I ask you something?" I said, breaking the comfortable silence. "Of course," she replied, her eyes attentive. "Do you really think we can get through this?" I asked, my voice low. "I mean, can we truly rebuild what we had?" She paused, her expression turning serious. "I want to believe we can. I know I messed up, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I realize now how much I took for granted, and I don't want to lose you." "I appreciate that, but it's going to take time," I reminded her. "Trust isn't something you can just rebuild overnight. I need to see that you're committed to changing, not just saying the right things." "I understand that," she said earnestly. "And I'll show you. I'll prove to you that I'm worth the effort." As the evening progressed, I began to feel a glimmer of hope. We shared stories and laughter, and I could see the flicker of the connection we once had. But the shadows of doubt still loomed, reminding me that trust was a fragile thing, easily shattered but difficult to mend. By the time we left the restaurant, I felt a mix of emotions, hopeful yet cautious. It was a step forward, but I knew it was only the beginning of a long journey. We had a lot of work ahead of us, and I couldn't help but wonder if we were truly ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. As we drove home, I glanced at Sarah, who was smiling softly, lost in her thoughts. I wanted to believe that we could overcome this, but I also knew that it would take more than just one good night to heal the wounds we had inflicted on each other. When we arrived home, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what came next. I needed to remember that while we were taking steps toward reconciliation, the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. And as I walked inside, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was just beginning. The days following our date felt like a balancing act, a delicate dance between hope and suspicion. Sarah was trying hard to prove herself, and I could see the effort she was putting in. She was more attentive, more engaged, and it was clear that she was committed to making things right. But despite her efforts, I found myself struggling to fully let my guard down. The memory of her betrayal loomed like a shadow over our interactions, reminding me that trust is not easily regained. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, I felt a pang of nostalgia wash over me. This had once been our sanctuary, a place where we shared laughter and love. But now it felt tainted, a reminder of everything that had gone wrong. I glanced over at Sarah, who was engrossed in the film, her face illuminated by the glow of the screen. She looked peaceful, but I couldn't help but wonder if that peace was real or just a facade. "Can I ask you something?" I said, breaking the comfortable silence. "Sure," she replied, turning to face me, her expression attentive. "Do you ever think about what led you to Jake, what you were looking for that you felt you couldn't find with me?" Her expression shifted, and I could see the gears turning in her mind. "I've thought about it a lot," she admitted, her voice quiet. "I think I was searching for excitement, a thrill that had gone missing in our routine. I didn't realize how damaging that would be." "Excitement," I echoed, feeling a mix of frustration and sadness. "You had that." "With me, we used to go on adventures, explore new places. It was there, Sarah." "I know, and I'm sorry," she said, her eyes glistening with emotion. "I took it for granted. I let the monotony of life dull my senses, and I was foolish enough to think I could find that spark elsewhere. It was a mistake, and I regret it every day." Her words struck a chord within me. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she had learned from her mistakes. But the scars of betrayal were still fresh, and I couldn't help but wonder if there would always be a part of me that questioned her loyalty. "Do you really think we can find that excitement again?" I asked, my voice tinged with uncertainty. "Can we rebuild what we lost?" "I believe we can," she replied earnestly. "But it requires both of us to put in the effort. I want to rediscover that spark with you. I don't want to lose you again." Her sincerity tugged at my heart, but I knew that words alone wouldn't be enough. We needed to take tangible steps to rekindle our connection. "What do you suggest?" I asked, a hint of curiosity in my voice. "Let's make a commitment to each other," she proposed, her expression serious. "Let's set aside time each week for just us, no distractions, no work. We can explore new activities together, try new things, and find that excitement again." I nodded slowly, considering her suggestion. It was a step forward, a way to actively work on our relationship. "That sounds good," I said, "but it's going to take time. I can't promise that I'll be completely open right away." "I understand," she said, reaching for my hand. "I'm willing to be patient. I just want the chance to show you that I'm committed to making this work." As the days turned into weeks, we began implementing our plan. We scheduled weekly date nights, exploring local restaurants, hiking new trails, and even taking a cooking class together. It felt refreshing to break the routine, and I could sense the walls between us beginning to crumble. We laughed more, shared stories, and even found ourselves reminiscing about happier times. But beneath the surface, I still grappled with my insecurities. Each time Sarah smiled at me or reached for my hand, I couldn't shake the nagging thought of her affair. Was she truly committed, or was she simply playing a role, trying to win me back? I wanted to trust her, but the past was a heavy burden to carry. One night as we sat on the couch, I decided to confront my feelings. "Sarah, can we talk about something?" I began, my heart racing. "Of course," she replied, her expression open and inviting. "I've been feeling conflicted," I admitted, choosing my words carefully. "I want to believe that we're moving in the right direction, but I can't shake the doubts. I still find myself wondering if you're really all in." "I understand," she said, her voice calm. "Trust takes time, and I know I broke it. I'm willing to work for it, but I need you to communicate with me. If you're feeling unsure, I want to know. I just don't want to be hurt again," I confessed. "I don't know how to fully let my guard down." Sarah nodded, her expression serious. "That's fair. But I promise you I'm committed to this. I'm not going anywhere. I want to rebuild our marriage brick by brick." Her words resonated with me, and I realized that I had to take a leap of faith. It wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to try. "Okay," I said, taking a deep breath. "Let's keep working on this together." As we moved forward, I felt a shift within me. I was beginning to see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with, the one who had captivated me with her laughter and spirit. But the road to healing was still long, and I knew we had to remain committed to the process. One evening, after a particularly enjoyable date night, I found myself lying in bed next to Sarah, her warmth a comforting presence. I turned to her, propping myself up on one elbow. "Do you think we'll ever get back to where we were?" I asked softly. She smiled, her eyes sparkling in the dim light. "I believe we can, but it's going to take time, and we have to be patient with each other." I nodded, feeling a sense of hope blossom within me. Perhaps we were on the right path after all. As I drifted off to sleep, I found myself clinging to that hope, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. But little did I know, the true test of our commitment was yet to come. The weeks rolled on, and for the first time since discovering Sarah's betrayal, I felt a sense of cautious optimism. We had established a rhythm in our relationship, a delicate dance of rebuilding trust and rediscovering each other. Our date nights became a cherished ritual, and I found myself laughing more, enjoying the little moments that had once brought us joy. Yet in the back of my mind, I still harbored an unease, a lingering fear that our fragile bond could shatter at any moment. One Friday evening, as we prepared for another date, I noticed a shift in Sarah's demeanor. She seemed preoccupied, her thoughts drifting elsewhere. I watched her as she applied her makeup in front of the mirror, a frown creasing her brow. "Hey," I said gently, "are you okay? You seem a bit distant." She paused, glancing at me through the mirror. "I'm fine," she replied too quickly, and I could tell she was lying. "Sarah, you can't keep hiding things from me. If something bothering you, I want to know." She sighed, setting down her makeup brush. "It's just I've been thinking about Jake." The name hit me like a punch to the gut. "Jake," I echoed, my heart racing. "You said you ended things with him. What's there to think about?" "I did end things," she insisted, her voice rising defensively. "But I can't help but wonder if he's moved on. I see him at the gym sometimes, and it makes me feel anxious." "Why would you care what he thinks?" I shot back, frustration boiling over. "You made your choice, you chose me." "I know," she exclaimed, her eyes pleading. "But it's hard not to feel guilty. I hurt him too. I never meant to lead him on. I don't want to think about what could have been if I hadn't messed things up." I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm brewing within me. "You need to focus on us, not on him. If you want to make this work, you have to let go of the past." "I'm trying," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I just feel like I'm constantly battling my own demons. I don't want to lose you again, but I can't shake the guilt." I softened my tone, realizing that I needed to approach this differently. "Listen, I understand that you're feeling guilty, but we can't move forward if you keep looking back. You made a mistake, and so did I. We both have to accept that and focus on what we can build together." She nodded, her expression shifting from anger to understanding. "You're right. I need to let go of the past. I just wish it were that easy." "Then let's work on it together," I suggested. "We can find ways to strengthen our bond, to create new memories that overshadow the old ones." As the evening progressed, we spent time talking about our goals and dreams, the things we wanted to accomplish as a couple. It felt good to reconnect on that level, to envision a future that was bright and full of potential. However, the following week brought an unexpected twist. I returned home from work one evening to Find Sarah sitting on the couch, her phone in hand, her face pale. "Hey, what's wrong?" I asked, my heart sinking at the sight of her distress. "I got a message from Jake," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What did he say?" I asked, bracing myself for the worst. "He wants to meet," she replied, tears welling in her eyes. "He said he needs closure." "Closure," I repeated, incredulity flooding my voice. "You've already given him closure. You ended things. Why would you even consider meeting him?" "I don't know," she cried, burying her face in her hands. "I feel guilty and part of me wants to explain everything, but I don't want to hurt you again. I just don't know what to do." I felt my heart race, anger and fear colliding within me. "You need to decide what's more important, your past with him or our future together. Meeting him will only complicate things." "But what if he's hurting? What if he needs to hear it from me?" she pleaded. "Sarah, this is not about him anymore. It's about us. You've made your choice to be with me, and I need to know that you're fully committed to that choice," I said, my voice steady but filled with urgency. "I am committed," she insisted, her eyes pleading. "But I can't ignore this part of my life. I need to face it to make sure it's truly over." "Then do it, but do it with me," I replied, my heart aching. "Let's go together, face him together and show him that you've moved on. Show him that you're with me now." She looked at me, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "You'd really be willing to do that?" "Yes," I said firmly. "If it means putting this behind us, then yes." The next day we drove to the gym where Jake worked out. My stomach churned with anxiety as we approached the entrance. I could see Sarah's hands trembling as she clutched her phone tightly, and I wondered if she was having second thoughts. But we were in this together, and I needed to remind her of that. When we entered, I spotted Jake at the front desk, chatting with a couple of clients. He looked up and froze when he saw us. "Sarah," he said, his voice tinged with surprise, "what are you doing here?" "I came to talk," she replied, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "I wanted to explain why I ended things." Jake's eyes flicked to me, and I could see the recognition settle in. "So you're with him now?" "Yes," Sarah said, standing tall. "And I need you to understand that it's over between us. I made a mistake, and I'm sorry for how it ended. But I've chosen to be with him, and I want to move forward with my life." There was a moment of silence as Jake processed her words. I could see the hurt in his eyes, but there was also a sense of understanding. "I get it," he said finally, his voice low. "I just wish it hadn't ended this way. I thought we had something special." "You did," Sarah replied softly. "But I was wrong to think I could have both. I'm really sorry for the pain I caused you." As they spoke, I felt the tension in my chest begin to ease. Sarah was standing her ground, facing her past head-on, and I was proud of her for that. Jake nodded slowly, a resigned expression on his face. "I appreciate you coming here to tell me. I hope you both find what you're looking for." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving us standing there in the gym. I could see the weight lift from Sarah's shoulders, and I felt a sense of relief wash over me. "Are you okay?" I asked, turning to her. "I think so," she replied, her voice steadier now. "I finally feel like I can put this behind me." I pulled her into an embrace, holding her tightly as if to shield her from any lingering doubts. "You did great," I whispered. "I'm proud of you." As we left the gym hand in hand, I felt a renewed sense of hope for our future. We had faced the past together, and it had only strengthened our bond. That evening, as we sat on the couch together, I realized that we were beginning to heal. The wounds of betrayal were still there, but they were no longer the defining feature of our relationship. "I love you," I said softly, looking into her eyes. "I love you too," she replied, her voice filled with sincerity, "and I'm ready to move forward with you." In that moment, I knew that while the journey ahead would still have its challenges, we were both committed to making it work. We had faced the darkness together and emerged stronger on the other side. And as I held her close, I felt the weight of the past begin to fade, replaced by the promise of a brighter future together. This was our new beginning, and I was ready to embrace it.